طيب، هلا بلش جد. يعطيكم ألف عافية، مساء الخير جميعا. أو بعرفش شو مكان سلام بأي منطقة أنتم ممكن تكونوا موجودين فيها. اسمي ولاء من تكنو بارك، وهذا الويبينار تقريبا هاي الويبينار رقم 14 عم نعملها since over a year، تحت اسم برينجين، ضمن أنشطة اللي بنفذها ضمن دياسبورا نتورك، واللي من خلالها نشبك مع بنعمل هذا الويبينار شهريا على مدى سنة كاملة وأكثر. هلأ بنشبك من خلالها مع experts في مجالات مختلفة، في مجالات في قطاع التكنولوجيا. يعني a quick هيك ويبينار مسوية، a quick meeting to connect, to get exposed to another level of language أو sorry of another level of knowledge من فلسطينية موجودين برا نسمع منهم. ويعني في مجالات في مجالات مختلفة على استخدامات التكنولوجيا بمجالات أو بقطاعات مختلفة. وكمان نفتح المجال للأسئلة والأجوبة فيما بعد إذا حدا عنده أي استفسارات أو أي comments. معنا اليوم السيد محمد شحادة. Speaking of his technical expertise, he has a wide and vast experience من software engineering ل financial solutions زي banks زي insurance companies. بعدين هي اشتغل بالماشين learning, natural language processing، وبعدين he shifted to AI technologies and وهلا that's the field he's working on with big companies, with big media companies زي الجزيرة والعربية وغيرها. أنا بحب دايما to connect with the speakers that we host on a personal level. فكنت عم بحكي بدردش مع السيد محمد، بحكي له something fun، يعني زي شو what's the most شو الطبخة اللي أنت أكتر طبخة فلسطينية أنت بتحبها. فهي said إنه although he's شو قلت لي pasta guy, he likes
خلاص.
ملوخية. Yeah, and
ملوخية.
he does miss الكنافة النابلسية.
آه،
Another thing that's really interesting that he said is that he visited more than 50 countries around the world, but Palestine is still the most beautiful country in the world.
definitely.
بعيونه. So yeah, from here we give you the floor, Mr. Muhammad, and the floor is yours. And everyone is muted, and at the end we open the door for questions and answers and discussion as well. Please go.
مرحبا بالجميع وشكرا لانضمامكم لهذه البرزنتيشن. طبعا تعرفوا هال AI مجال واسع، ونحاول نحصره في مناقشة بمدة ساعة probably صعب، وحيكون منكم تعليق وأسئلة أكثر. I welcome it during the presentation. إذا في أي إشي بتحبوا طبعا تطرحوه أو تضيفوا you're more than welcome. I'm gonna share my slides. uh, إذا it lets me. بدك تعطيني permission ولا
آه
sorry.
لازم يجيني لحظة، يمكن عند اسمك. آه طب شو رأيك أحطك co-host. I think
That
now
works.
we are
I think probably that
a
works.
shortcut. Yeah, you can try now.
It's
بحب تحكي لنا.
you
يعني
see my screen.
أنا مش كتير عرفت من ناحية تكنيكال، عشان كمان بنحب نسمع منك أكتر. متأسفة قبل ما تبلش.
Sure.
نعرف أكتر عنك، عن your experience. تفضل.
Sure. So أنا مولود بالأردن. I was born in Jordan a while back. بالزرقاء والصيف اللي بيعرف الأردن طبعا. وبخلال الأول ثانوي سنحت لي يعني opportunity to be an exchange student. وكان من الأردن إلى واشنطن ستيت في الويست كوست. درست الهاي سكول هون سنة and then رجعنا وطبعا كملنا التوجيهي. ولاحقا I went to the university in Portland State University, my bachelor in mathematics, and my master at University of Oregon Eugene بالcomputer science in 1982 81 actually. طبعا during this time I have many opportunities to work بالمجال الكمبيوتر. In Jordan I worked in banking, as well I mentioned, insurance companies, different application, enterprise and so on. Until 1990, I started a company in Jordan, and then later I moved to the States, back to the States in 1990, and started a company that focused initially on machine translation. يعني, I felt that the Arabic language is not being integrated within the offering of new technology. So started the company, and we basically developed the first real professional system على الأقل within the evaluation of those periods in machine translation، الترجمة الآلية. يعني كان في cooperation كثير مع with Jordan University، الأستاذ نهاد الموسى والأستاذ عبد الرحمن ياغي، where we really developed a different approach لتحليل اللغة. يعني we had to build مصرف آلي، we had to build يعني نحلل الجرامر العربي بشكل كبير. We did a lot of analytics at that time for the source. We used something called lexical functional grammar, which is rule-based system. وحتشوفوا over the years how this technology changed. Rule-based system where we analyze the source, then there is a transfer model, and there is a generation. So we analyze Arabic, المصرف والقواعد المختلفة, and then we see how that transfers to English language, and then we generate the English بناء على structure تاع اللغة الإنجليزية. Rule based moved into many steps, and it moved to statistical approaches where you feed the system parallel data, and هاي parallel data بتستطيع أنها to learn, and therefore once you present a sentence or a book to translate, basically it uses that parallel data that has analyzed and بقوم بالترجمة. Later, neural network took over, and today most of the systems are neural networks. In the process of this experience اللي عملناه, we had a couple times exit where we succeeded in selling the company, 1998 to a company in Belgium. And then the Belgian company got in trouble with the SEC. We were an independent subsidiary, and we were able to acquire the company back from the courts. And later we had another exit with SAIC and licensed the technology to eBay in 2014. Later licensed the technology to other major players from the Magnificent Seven, Microsoft, AWS, Meta, and so on. So that's the general. And today we still manage companies that deal with AI and companies that deal, whether it's text, video, images, computer vision in general. So that's some of the background. Today يعني طبعا I just want to نتحدث عن ال AI بشكل عام. The first thing I want to say that AI is here to stay. Absolutely, it's not a bubble from a technology perspective. I think there will be a market correction to some of these companies that have a huge valuation, yet their technology is inferior. But the main players in technology, most likely, whether it's OpenAI, Claude, Meta, the main players in that technology, of course, Google with their Gemini, is very effective. And I think what they did already is so underutilized that even if we don't do much in terms of this in terms of AI new foundation model, it will be coming. Anyway, I hope in the end of the discussion that we all kind of pitch in and see how we can use this technology within our country and for our people. So anyway, so to start with, I mean, this is some of the history that we went through as technology workers. We worked on mainframe. I remember working with the punch cards, if you all remember that. IBM System 360 was one of the famous things. Of course, in 1990s came the PCs, and that generalized more software development and solutions. In the 2000 or a little bit before, we had the internet, mobile, cloud. And of course, we had the dot-com, where again there were so much, extremely unjustified valuation that led to the market crash at that time. And currently, we go with the generative AI and the whole AI in modern time. In terms of the software, of course, there's BERT Transformer, which is a solution that's bidirectional and mainly dealt with natural language processing. It is Transformers technology that is used currently also with the different AI platforms, okay? And then probably in the 2023, ChatGPT was released, which basically the most obvious things, it was a prompt, اسأل سؤال, and then you get your answers. And recently, the whole market and the technology direction went into agentic solutions, which is building like functions or applications that uses the whole capabilities of the LLMs in order to analyze, plan, reason, action, and so on. So if we want to build a system for insurance companies, تقييم المطالبات, the claims, so we can build it with one or multiple agents that uses the large language model from the data. Give me all the accidents that are costing us more than $1,000. So I realized historically we built that with SQL. Today, the LLM has the ability to take natural language, NLP or natural language, and translate that into the SQL, where it checks in different file formats. So that's more in the current stage of the agentic. Two things we have. We have the generative AI and we have the LLMs. The LLMs is really a subset of generative AI. The main thing with generative AI, that output, as you see, whether it's text, images, audio, video, code, and design. So there are this is the main thing, that it creates text, and therefore from an idea, and generates that in an output that you see. This technology helped companies to move from just cost into revenue and growth. It's faster to produce products, it's faster to produce solutions, and therefore, it helps the industry. While the large language model, as I said, is a subset, it kind of analyzes, understands, and generates. Both of these systems, as you know, feeds on data. The more data you give these systems, the better they can perform. So OpenAI, as you know, went all through where they scraped and crawled the internet and books and movies and images and videos. There are New York Times, I remember they had a case against them a year ago or a year and a half ago, that they were unauthorized to take the books, still probably in court. So most of these systems really feed on data, and taking that data and analyzing it and building the vectors and building the embedding that's needed, and then being able to relate words to each other and being able to understand what you want. So the LLMs, you have text, images, speech, audio. We use generally we will use automatic speech recognition in order to input that. By the way, I'm going through this fast, and if you have a question or you want to say something, please, I guess, Wala, you can unmute them, or the colleagues if they want to have a question. So LLMs are really the ones that we use the most of the time, and whether LLM for text or multimodal, where we also use the LLM in terms of video and in terms of images, and therefore both technologies where produce embedding, where produces vectors that analyze the image or analyze the text based on words and brings it to a mathematical representation. And the same thing with images, and it tries to see, if you're talking about a person or talking about a country, the same embedding that is generated from the video or the image will be found. So that's the multimodal LLM that we currently also use in different media in particular. They have the digital asset management systems, and therefore there is a lot of video and there is a lot of articles. There are a lot of articles, and therefore it can be done. More in the improvement moving forward, it's the improved foundation model, and I will explain where the foundation model fits. More agentic AI. I remember recently, I think that both the CEO of Microsoft and the CEO Andy Jassy of AWS mentioned that 80% of their codes today is generated first automatically before it goes to the programmer, or the programmer generates it and then adds their flavor, fix it, increase it. In terms of AI, also there is a lot of movement towards open models and open weights. Having an open model for the system probably is not enough. Being able to adjust and control the weights, what is more important or less important, and how things relate to each other is an important function of the model. The most famous, of course, in the open source systems is DeepSeek. The Chinese scientists released that. And it requires less compute in order the training or the inference or to find things. So there's a lot of movement, and hopefully this is a discussion, at least within the Palestinian environment. Open source probably better than licensing, if they license it anyway. So moving also, there's a physical AI, looking at proteins, looking at medicine, building some medications, robots, industrial manufacturing. So there is a lot of physical AI within the industries. The next step, of course, everybody is talking about, and it's still so ambiguous, is artificial general intelligence. So AGI, it understands, it's cognitive. There is autonomous learning, so it learns from what the questions are and how to build things and so on. And it really no consensus when or what AGI will come. So it is gradual, and I'm sure it is something that eventually we will say, oh, now we have it. I wanted to mention something, at least in the Arabic specific, within the data that is used for building these LLMs and generative AI in general, the representation of the Arabic language 0.3 or 0.5 at the most. I mean, you can imagine that the influence of the Arabic language, if it is 0.3 or 0.5, less than 1%, there isn't much influence for the whole production that we see in the Arab world. So it is essential if we want to have our opinion heard or at least displayed to have this thing change. I mentioned the AI stack, and I think if we go from the bottom in the semiconductor where it is you see NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and there is Cerebras, there is other companies are coming. So mostly that's the lower level. It is building the GPUs that are used in training of AI and building the the groundwork that's in the cloud and so on. The next level is really the cloud infrastructure, and there are so many samples in that area from AWS, Google, and so on. The next is really where the foundation models comes, which is OpenAI, Anthropic, Meta, and so on. The other thing is model customization, taking that foundation model, using your own data, bringing in all the text, the reports, the manuals, whatever you have, the emails, all of that is really customize your email in order to ask or answer the questions or do the processing according to the data you have. And then we have the agent orchestration where there are multiple agents, and we have the applications, media and entertainment, enterprises, contact centers, or government. So this is in general the structure or the stack of the AI that all different companies work with. And if you see that there is a chart, by the way, I'll be sending the presentation to Wala so she can share, of course, with you. So this is kind of give an idea more in different companies that work in the area, especially if you look at the orchestration layer, which is the layer that you start using the agents, what now most of the solution developed use agentic approach. These are chain is probably one of the more famous ones or more used. Of course, Llama Index is there and so on. Anthropics probably is one of the strongest in terms of code generation. So I think the biggest thing is that 2025, the enterprise application were 5%. Anticipated in 2026 is 40%. Many CEOs says, if you're today doing what you used to do 2 or 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, or a year ago, then you're way slow. As we know, technology pushes fast, while the adoption from the corporations really are slower. So there's an anticipation that 2026, this phenomena of using AI and changing the way we develop software, eliminating the silos. You have the HR, you have the audit, the accounting, the finance, you have the supply chain, you have different inventory, you have and so on. With using this approach by bringing your data within a customized LLM and being able to use agents, then you build the solution that you want. So anticipated that this is going to grow significantly in this year. I mean, every solution today we build is basically use agentic AI. We no longer use any other approach to building a solutions, whether it's for media, whether it's for advertisements, whether it's for health, and so on. And of course, once you talk about orchestration, there are multiple agents, and each agent does a function, or at least each agent talks with other agents and determines the flow of certain analysis. Some stats, 85% fail to go beyond the pilot. So people start doing some work. I think I saw this presentation at the Web Summit, and Al Jazeera person was speaking, and he brought this stats in his presentation. So many people start with a POC, and they stop there. They cost, not able to finish it, and so on. Okay, and therefore there's 90% of AI models do not reach actual production stage. So you will see within corporation there is the challenges that the employees are faster in using personalized ChatGPT or Gemini more than the corporation-wide using the foundation models or customized foundation models in their work process. So the other thing that is important with building a customized solution within an organization is the data. You have to clean the data, you have to deduplicate the data, you have to annotate that data, and therefore it's really important to have a successful project that the data is clean and capable to be ingested with them. Another stat anyway, but it just gives you an example that there is a risk. There are risks with adopting it, and there are there are issues that not every project is successful in being in production. Some of the risks, and there's reliability. Agents behave differently. Sometimes you ask ChatGPT or other the question today, and based on your habits, you ask the same question a month later or a couple weeks later, and you will get a different answer or adjusted answer. So the same thing with your organization. There is a risk that the agent behavior is non-deterministic, and therefore it can give other things. That's different than hallucination, where the system will give you. Most of the LLMs do not know, do not understand, and they will not come up with an answer, I don't know. They will always, based on that design by nature, these systems do not accept that I don't know. They will find something that they think it's related, while in reality it's hallucination and it's totally a wrong answer. So that's another problem. Security is a problem. The data leakage through tools that تتسرب elsewhere, this data or these results are important. The cost is a risk, because if somebody, if there's loops within the tool calling, this counts as token, and therefore it will be continuously increasing your cost. So it's very important to make sure the ability to control that. Observability, being able to trace where these decisions were made. And of course, with this approach, it's sometimes difficult to do that. And certainly having audit trail would help in that. Mitigation, there's guardrails, and many of the LLM solutions have guardrails. So if you ask inappropriate question or illicit question, the system would tell you no. And these prompts have been designed in order to be able to protect against misuse of the LLM or the data that is there. So it's very important to think about your guardrails and being able to control at least some material that you don't want others to see. Observability and evaluation. So you need to look at the step by step and trace how the system is executed. Many of the systems, again, it's important to have a human in the loop in order to be able to approve the discussion. There's a lot of transformation, as we said, are moving into LLMs, and therefore the mindset has changed. And if you see from this stat, there is adoption. 90%, 91% of employees report their organization uses at least one form of AI. The job market is totally changing. programming is taking a different turn. There is a lot of people saying maybe there is layoffs in terms of this technology, but it seems that there is repurposing of people that are working on certain industrial aspect or certain things that might robots replace it. They will find something by being able data annotators or being able to use AI, whatever the usage of AI from enterprises can help eliminate this layoffs in the job market. So there are a lot of movement over the next years. I mean, I think Cuban, the guy who owns the basketball, Mark Cuban, mentioned that the blue collar today factories will be the blue collars of the future on data. So things are moving from certain area. I mean, agriculture went through that with machinery. Different industries change and went into that from different usage of robot and so on and so forth. So AI heavily report that up 30% boost, bring your own AI, 78, as I mentioned earlier, 78% of workers bring their own AI tools to work, unauthorized, most of them. And the risk with that is many of the LLMs, large language models, once you send the data to the cloud and they give you the answers, they keep this question and this answer. So they learn from what even people ask, and having your data security is important. Banks should not send customer lists and give me an order of my most privileged or most active customer and so on and so forth. All of that information is becomes part of their training data. So this is something that many people say you shouldn't use your AI in a way that is open, and therefore you risk your data in the future. I wanted to go quickly over some use cases, enterprise, call centers, contact centers, the banks, financial, education, health, and so on. I mean, you don't see any industry today in the US, in Europe, and probably some countries in the Middle East that has not yet adopted some form of AI. So these are verticals. One area, just to detour, is the importance of having a sovereign AI. And I mean, even for us Palestinian, having a sovereign AI is extremely important. There is so much misinformation about our case, so much misinformation about the rights, so much about human rights and so on. And we have to kind of struggle in order to bring forward our own story and our own data, images, videos from the early 1900s that show what we had, until 1948. So it is an extremely important to bring this and think about building a sovereign AI. And probably in our case, it has to be more an open source where it's not controlled by others, and you have the right to, or you have the ability to modify it and customize it to our needs. This is something I think an effort, companies, universities, and maybe there are efforts already in Birzeit or some of the universities that have that. I don't know, but definitely it is something that we should push for. And there are, like I said, there are so many reasons to have that, including, help local startups to access on-prem or on the cloud an open source solution, free and low cost. That helps quite a bit to spread this technology and to spread its usage across the different verticals. So sovereign AI is really an issue that is important. In the media and entertainment, a huge field, probably one of the major industrial vertical that can benefit from AI. There is a lot of translation, so the system can handle translation. There is a lot of subtitling and dubbing, live closed captioning. You know, there are systems today. You are listening to a French station and you can see the subtitles in Arabic, or vice versa. You take the Arabic and translate it and show subtitling in other language. So having the ability with LLMs is great in order to give this kind of results. The ability to summarize, the ability to take the multilingual systems and summarize different pieces as you need. There are tools today in order to help in creation. So the editorial board or committee would meet. They will have the trends already coming to them from social media or from different news agencies. They can decide to write an article about XYZ. This article can be created based on terms or on highlights that the editor would put, and therefore you generate faster an article that can be edited and add in your creative aspects to that article. The other thing I think is important is the digital asset management solutions. Today, it's limited how much maybe only converted into some kind of metadata, which is extremely limited, that this is an interview with XYZ, while the context of the interview is not there. So there are so many benefits in order to bring the AI technology to the digital asset management. You find videos that relates to stories, you find images that relates to your story, you find content that otherwise you will not be able to find, and therefore you can repurpose that. I mean, we've been talking to some companies that have 300,000 hours of video. All they know about each of the hour, or so, at least the archive, is just a couple lines metadata. There is no rich metadata that allow them to be able to see what's in the content they have. Education and learning, huge area for improving and for using this technology. I think, you know, being able to listen to even a lecture in English or French and have to hear it, and being able to hear it in Arabic, being able, or vice versa. And the students will have also a repository of different lectures and different concepts, and being able to access that and benefit from them. The deaf and hard of hearing people, you know, for accessibility purposes. I know in the US there are laws for accessibility in terms of closed captioning. So having that also in Arabic is probably important to be able to give people the right to see certain content. We have, as I mentioned, real-time subtitling and dubbing. So you're watching news in some country and you want to hear it in your language. This is very much possible with the technology today within the education anyway. Being able to customize and personalize. A student would come 5th grade, 10th grade, 7th grade, and being able to what courses that student has taken, and being able to lead him through a curriculum based on the capabilities and how fast the student go. Support the deaf and hard hearing, translating of the sign languages. So that's important to communicate for people. And again, this really would spread the content of education across the world. So there is no reason somebody sitting in Africa or sitting in any town in Palestine not being able to access this data. This is in education. Healthcare, obviously this is another huge area, and the electronic medical records, being able to do the analysis within the medical records, accessing information. There has been a lot in computer vision when it comes to the X-rays, reading the X-ray, being able to determine, an MRI, being able to determine where cancer, in its beginning. So there are a lot of doctors are now in some countries or some hospitals benefiting from using computer vision and being able to detect early detection of certain problems with the patient, supporting drug discovery. You look at there was a study in England that the treatment of cancer improved 34% when the AI analyzed the specific cancer of an individual and came up with a more matching medicine for that particular case. So this is important, from a health perspective, and from finding problems before you have it. Again, they use now many of the clinics, multimodal for text, speech, and structured data, images, and video, and they get a full picture on the situation of the patient. In closing, again, we are probably for our situation in Palestine, as I said, we should look into open source, having that more available for us there. I think with the internet situation, if the internet is cut, there are ways where there is on-prem. There are many models that do not require the huge GPU needed, that's worth $200,000-300,000, but they can put some of these smaller models, open source models, and being able to have it in on-prem and therefore not affected by the situation. We need to build expertise on creating multi-model solutions, understanding, like I said, we have images and videos from the 30s or the 20s, and we keep seeing them in social media. It's good. You see a lot of tools, and as I mentioned earlier, there are companies build around one tool and then claim it's worth $1 billion or something. So there are a lot of tools that keep changing within the industry. I think understanding the domain is more important. Finding the right tool is going to be continuously updated. You are bombarded with new tools that are good, better than before, and therefore you should be more agile in order to change that. Train on AI-driven coding. I think the programming environment has changed significantly from 2-3 years ago. Today, there's a lot of tools, or a lot of Claude is probably one of the best, spelling is wrong. One of the better ones that generate code that is, close to great code, and it's enough. But again, human in the loop help. We can certainly, the people who are in the call here and others will mentor, with startups and being able to help them out. I think the university's curriculum should be also agile and take in consideration the new LLMs and how to work with AI, and therefore, being able to, graduate, the graduates are more able and able to join this industry. Finally, I want to say that there is the data collection and annotation within these systems is extremely important. The systems are always hungry for more data, hungry for annotation in data, bringing videos and having the transcription of the videos, bringing other different data annotated and cleaned is extremely important. There are projects for things like being able to look at the what data are used for prompts and prompt completion. So if you wanted, like I mentioned, the guardrails, you write your own prompt, what do you want and what the answer should be, and therefore you build the guardrails. You want to improve in the retrieval of your data. Basically, you bring the frequently asked questions, the different questions that an enterprise has, for example, a call center, and being able then to service the customer faster. We see a lot of analytics in call centers in this area, and probably the data that it has is there. I think this is it. Sorry, it's a little bit, some technical, some, as I mentioned, some more business concepts that you certainly welcome to share and comment as you need. Took a little bit longer than I thought. تفضلي.
No, thank you so much. I think you touched on everything on a technical level, recommendations for technicals, for startups, working with on the level of universities as well. So I think this was a great presentation with a brief and recommendations as well for all of us on a policy level, on the level of universities, experts, mentors. We have lots of people from different entities here. And we'd love to hear from Dr. Faisal. I see your screen is on. I'm not sure if you want to intervene or say something. So yeah, we'll start with the questions. للسؤال بالعربي الشفت، هل صحيح أنه يفضل البدء بتخصص علم الحاسوب لأنه هو الأساس لكل تخصصات الحاسوب ويؤسس برمجيا أفضل من تخصصات مثل الذكاء الاصطناعي أو الأمن السيبراني، ثم يمكن لاحقا التخصص في مجال معين مثل الأمن السيبراني وشكرا. فهمتي؟
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I mean, to reach a stage where you're able to use AI tools and utilities better, your background and what you have learned plays a significant role. I mean, it was not easy for me to move from developing letters of credit system or general ledger for a bank and moving into machine translation. So it certainly helps having a computer science education. I think the education has to change significantly based. This is a transformational time. It's changing the whole paradigm of building solutions. So, and therefore, it's very important to teach computer science differently, and the direction of teaching. Are you teaching towards building a foundation model or utilizing agents, agentic solution, and being able to serve for different verticals? I think the scientific side is important, yet I think there are so many difficulties and limitation. I mean, building a foundation model, sometimes it's $100 million. So it really depends. And therefore, we should be aggressive and going against, having more scientists. And certainly that would help. I mean, one scientist recently, Palestini, won the Nobel Prize, Omar Yaghi, I think. So it is important to have that.
Shukran. So Hassan, social study, he's saying, which AI-driven sectors offer the most strategic entry points for Palestinian entrepreneurs and developers, considering the demography and the economic landscape here in Palestine?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, especially with the conditions that our people deal with. Telecom is important. I think if you want, as I understand the question, telecom contact centers, there is a lot of contact centers that are working to service Europe or to service the US or to service Al-Khalij or Saudi. It can be in Palestine using contact center solutions. Improving these solutions with AI would help put in more discriminators for us in order to win the business and the contracts. So that's a whole sector that I can go on and on how it's important there and to build solutions. I think media is very important today. I know of websites that are totally AI generated. So certainly this is مرتبطة يعني it is part of what I said about sovereign AI. You want the information that you create and produce to comply with your aspiration, to comply with your beliefs, and therefore in the media it's important to have that. I think, in the media, again, there are so many opportunities. It is one of the biggest verticals that are currently using AI or moving. I mean, the text to speech, you look at it, a company that was started 3 years ago, yesterday, or this past couple days, they raised 500 million at an $11 billion valuation. So there's a huge work with TTS. We have opportunity in order to produce training data, dialects, understanding اللهجات العربية المختلفة. There aren't efforts to do that yet. This is data that is worth gold in that sense. It's important from an economic perspective, but really also building these tools and these solutions would help advance many things. Healthcare, I mean, many of the fields that I mentioned really are important, but I think from our perspective, it would be telecom, media, healthcare, education. As I said, these are low-hanging fruits in terms of thinking and building a solution that's based on AI.
Wonderful. Ramzi, he's saying, what would you recommend for AI customization, especially on financial data? How will you go ahead and do it? What sort of tools, softwares would be used? Also, what would be the cheapest option?
Oh boy. شوية tough. I'll speak the generalities. Okay. Number one, you need an LLM. You cannot work on an LLM that's on the cloud, such as, unless they give you an exclusivity or your enclave from the data. Having on-prem or cloud is important. Number one is really preparation of your data. You need financial reports. You need financial records of transactions. You need your general ledger. You need all the different activities. You can integrate the HR with that. You can have the frequently asked questions for customer services and so on. So bringing all that data together and being able to ingest it within an LLM that you select. And it depends on the budget and the cost. And then, the speed that you can service your customer would increase significantly because of that. Tools, there are many tools. Like I said, in the agentic side, like LangChain, there are more and more tools in coding in order to bring it. There are tools in order, if you have the data structured in a database, being able to import that and use that within your customized LLM. Because within the bank, there is structured data and unstructured data, reports, evaluations, emails, communication with customers. And then you look at the databases of what you have built, whether SQL or Oracle or whatever database, that's more structured data. You have spreadsheets. All of that data, you have PDFs, manuals, and so on and so forth that exist. Maybe you don't even have the digital aspect of it, and therefore it's important to be able to bring that. So yeah, there are many things, but again, I always would say that start with a POC, don't drop it. Okay, be conscious of the cost and see the initial results that you can find in low-hanging fruit, as I would say, that are more applicable, and build in the second phase much more, advanced applications that help you both internally and in communication with your customer.
فظيع. شكرا. Okay, صبحي بيقول what are the jobs that you believe will be replaced by AI by 2030?
Boy, again, I wish you have the crystal ball to know that. First of all, industries are moving so fast in order to save on the cost, increase their revenue, and so on. So, if you looked at Amazon and the shipping of Amazon and the fulfillment centers that they have in the last 10 years have changed significantly. So, instead of having hundreds of employees, they probably have tens of employees, within a fulfillment center, because the system is so robotic and the system is so controlled by applications a lot more. So there will be, I think there will be, the traditional programming is not going to continue like that. Most of the programmers will move more and more into Python, agentic solutions, and so on. That is more of the AI programming. I don't think it will affect the health. Doctors will become more efficient, nurses will become more efficient. It would affect it that there will be an increase in ability to handle more customers, and therefore the health is pretty safe. Most of the people are needed and will continue to be needed. I think the contact centers, there are a lot that now handled by persons. That front end would stop being handled by an individual and will be more using AI. You call a bank or you call a manufacturer about a product. The AI will start even reservation of airlines, inquiring about flights, and so on. That front side will be handled by AI until you reach a point where it's harder for the AI to handle. Then they would automatically transfer you to a person to continue with the answer. So there's a lot of work there. We look at improving the services. Today, there are some online systems that while the call is going on, the AI is listening and correcting or helping the agent in providing better answers. That again, that contact centers will be affected. I think media will be affected, and people have to repurpose how to use it for articles, how to instead of translation from scratch, use the AI to translate, and you correct the translation, and so on. So it's very hard to tell, but definitely there is a huge shift and change that will repurpose a lot of talents into what the AI need. I'm happy to hear from you guys. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you have the experience, and certainly, you can add or, change or things like that.
Okay, Rami بيحكي in healthcare, what do you think the main AI contribution and what a business opportunity in this sector as well?
Huge. I mean, when I talked about discovery of cancer, I mean there are systems for breast cancer that way before physical detection that have succeeded in finding early stages. So it's it's huge in that area. The MRI. So all the computer vision component is extremely used today and in some places and will improve. This will mean the way the system learns is basically looking at all X-rays and certainly this personal information identification, PII, can be redacted, so you don't need to know the name of the patient. But the way the system works is really by going into the X-ray and annotating that this is historically we discovered and the doctor discovered that this is cancer. And therefore, the more data and the more images of the X-ray to determine what is cancer and what is not cancer, the faster the detection would happen. So annotating images within MRI, the same, imitating CT scans, all of that, being able to annotate it, you need some more expertise that understand medicine and understand these X-rays. And this is something that you create jobs and it will be able to be used. So, like I said, I don't know if what's the second half of the question? Sorry, it's I think probably.
What's the business opportunity in this sector?
I mean, certainly in the hospitals, there is a lot of work, whether in order to build the solution for hospitals and for clinics. And the second is the data opportunities. There is huge data opportunity to annotate. In the US, it's very hard for us to get our hands on such images. HIPAA compliance. This is the government that do not allow even to use emails. Sometimes they have to use secured emails within the hospitals. But because of that, it's very hard to get our hands on data that images that relate that we can use. I think there's more relaxed regulations in our country, and therefore you will be able to build data that you can sell, that you can monetize, and you can use within different hospitals. So this is probably one of the activities that does not require too much, and it just requires probably people who can look at data and based on the radiologist, where the radiologist determine the problem and what's the problem, that will help train the LLM in order to answer in the future. So I think that's feasible.
Yeah. اوكي، مروان طرزي عم بيسأل عن سيادة ال AI في فلسطين. regulations, politics, infrastructure required for it.
Uh, yeah. Well, first of all, money. Unfortunately, there has to be so many different tracks. One track is to evaluate different LLMs and to determine at this stage what is valid and what is usable and what is good for you. So many of them are licenses. Many of them are heavily expensive. The more token you use, the more search you use, the more they charge you. I think in our case, definitely I would say open source. We should not link ourselves to somebody who takes our data or somebody who will charge us. Even I think the differences in evaluation is not major on performance, and therefore a lot of the new open source is very good. So selecting the LLM and getting used to the LLM and how you customize the LLM is one activity. The second part is the data side, the data collection. Where are all these videos? What books do we have? What articles exist on the web? Scroll the web. What videos are available? Which languages are the videos are available about our case? what images are pictures and so on. So what the audio, radio available, what manuals, government rules, قانون, law. So, and we can go on and on, bringing all this data and making sure it's clean and deduplicate it, making sure that you're not feeding the same thing 10 times, okay, is a huge undertaking. Building the guardrails, احنا بنحكي genocide, أبادة جماعية, while the others do not recognize it. Having an understanding that, somebody asks a question, we're not going to say, الحركة الصهيونية حركة ممتازة or something like that. So having, our system should be biased towards our cause, and being able to put the guardrails and being able to work with that is extremely important. Bringing this together, then you need a lot of course, most of the customization or most of the training and most of, you bring in continuous pre-training, you bring in what we call RAGs, retrieval augmented generation, you bring in daily web, search, what's being updated. So, you want to have your system not to stop once you develop it and then it's all data, but you're able to bring in new data and keep updating it. If you recall, ChatGPT used to give you a message, this information is good through September 21st or whatever the date, 2022. Any new data they didn't have. Now, of course, with the RAG, it's all there. So it's a huge undertaking, that requires the funding from a GPU, requires the funding from data, and some of the data you might have to license and buy. Requires a huge team in order to annotate this data and clean it, and then you build it. You require the engineering that builds that customized solution, which is not difficult today, and there are a lot of guidelines how to do it. And then after all that is built, you need inference. You need people, when they ask the question, to answer the question. So you have to have, depending on the scale, are you expecting 1,000 users to, or people to ping your solution, or are you expecting a million? And all of that has to be taken in consideration in terms of the scalability of the system. You talk about multilinguality of the system, what languages you want the system to work with. So yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, we can go in details what cost
يعني
elements and
yeah,
how to do that.
يعني it's practically impossible يعني تنعمل. Correct.
No. بالعكس, it's
يعني
good
في
to
بلاد.
know. It's good to know, Marwan, what it takes, and then you decide.
yeah
I think it's not. It's not going to be in the thousands. It's going to be in in the million, maybe, and more. But with I believe with our cause, there are so many countries that would see that as a positive thing for the Palestinian, and therefore will donate. So there are ways to do it. There are, I don't think it's impossible. I don't think it's easy. You have to have the talent to lead it and deploy it, but it's not impossible. It's and I believe there are a lot of resources that can be accessed and used, probably with nominal cost.
Is it common? Do all countries have sovereign AI? Is it
So
common?
Saudi, in the Arab world, Saudi is building, or Humane, the company, is building one. الإمارات kind of there and not there. G42, their AI arm. Qatar, I haven't. I mean, there is activities. They just started a new investment arm called Kai, Qatar Artificial Intelligence, and they're moving in that direction. I I don't believe any other country has attempts to build the sovereign AI. You find it in Europe. There are a lot of European countries building their own sovereign AI and controlling the narrative using their own. Their own, of course, in the U.S. is mostly. I mean, they control many or most of that. Chinese are doing more in terms of their data and their information. So, but the concept is not yet pushed. As you see, there are so many advances in the LLM, and therefore people kind of wait. And as you said, the cost. I mean, some of these countries, it might cost them quite a bit to do a sovereign AI.
Thank you.
شكرا عشان we stick to the time ونتأكد إنه نخلص إحنا المفروض خلال ساعة ماكسيموم ساعة وربع. عندنا آخر سؤالين. في حدا بيسأل عن البحث العلمي شو وضعه بعد ثورة ال AI، والسؤال اللي بعده عم بيحكي عن على الديجري تاعت ال4 سنين لدراسة الكمبيوتر ساينس and artificial intelligence. Do you think it will stay in the future or not?
Uh, from البحث العلمي, I think it got a shot in the arm. It has boosted quite a bit البحث العلمي. I mean, full disclosure, some of the information, even you think you know it, but then even with some of the slides, من دهن وقليله زي ما بنحكي بالآخر, I've used some of the LLM in order to formulate some of the concepts. So it's certainly, and I use it in preparing proposals, making sure it's fit, understanding what it is. I use it in analyzing reports, RFPs. I'm talking about some of the businesses that we deal with. In بحث العلمي, definitely with all the data. And there are specialized LLMs for health. There are specialized LLM for industries. I mean, Siemens, for example, one of the big companies, have an industrial cloud using AI. So there, many of the industries are moving towards that, and so on. So yeah, definitely البحث العلمي is one of the big benefits from this solution, because it brings all the patents in. You know all the patents. It brings all the scientific papers. It brings all the reports. I'm talking, for example, in healthcare and so on. So or industries or IP or other things. So it's all in one place, and you're able to access it. Uh, as I said earlier, the computer science education has to change. I don't know how fast they're changing it, but they're creating now sectors, and they're creating now divisions within the universities that they're focusing more and more on AI. So definitely it has to change. You cannot continue to teach people SQL when now I can say a command in natural language, give me da 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 whatever I want, and the LLM would go and check all your tables, your schema, will understand your rows and columns within the database, and gives you the answer, and you didn't need to learn how to program in SQL. Today, I mean, 3 years ago, everything, somebody needed some reports, they have to understand SQL or whatever it is in order to access that report and build it. Now you really don't need that. So yeah, quite a bit of changes have to happen in the computer side.
Amazing. آخر سؤال كان عن الديجري الكمبيوتر ساينس ل4 سنين. يعني بيسأل إنه شو رأيك رح يصير فيها بالمستقبل؟
I said it stays, it has to. I mean, learning the understanding the basics of computers, when you learn, operating system, when you learn a network, when you learn cyber, when you learn so many things, it has to stay. This is the science that we need to understand, and this is the science that you get trained on. The last mile has changed, and being able to interface with solutions to customers and verticals, this is changing quite a bit. It's not the same anymore. And therefore, yeah, computer science degrees have to take that in consideration, and being able to adjust the curriculum and being able to create, something that يتماشى مع عصر ال AI.
شكرا أستاذ محمد. As Alaa said, a very informative session. I'm not a technical person, but I really enjoyed it. It's so easy to understand. I think من التفاعل واضح قديش كان ممتع اللقاء، وما شاء الله عليك عندك معلومات جدا واسعة، واضح من الإجابة ومن البرزنتيشن كمان. شكرا كتير.
شكرا لك ولل Technopark arranging it, and I will send you the presentation with my email, and happy to help, or happy to answer questions, or I'm sure you guys are competent, but if there's anything we can help with, certainly we're more than happy.
أكيد شكرا جميعا، وبنلقاكم إن شاء الله بالويبينار الجاي مع خبير جديد. يعطيكم ألف عافية وتصبحوا على خير.
شكرا.
باي باي.
سلامات. باي باي.